7-pound smallmouth. No. And they made him fillet it. Dollar smallmouth. Dollar smallmouth. Dollar smallmouth.
Welcome back to another episode of the MODCast. This is episode number 3. If you're just tuning in on our podcast, look, go back, listen to Wes and Wyatt Marler. Yeah. Such a good podcast. You'll get a lot of information out of that. And another podcast airing this Friday is Eddie and Luke Roth. He spit some pretty good knowledge out there. You think, Eddie?
I think so too. He's an interesting character. It was fun.
I bet it was. But guys, for our guest tonight, he needs no introduction. He has won so many tournaments at Table Rock and Bull Shoals and a lot of the other surrounding lakes around here in the Ozark area. He's won in 2022 the BFL. He's won it in 2023 Anglers in Action. He has won a ton of night tournaments. In 2024, he has won an Ozark Team Trail, and he's won several Joe Bass tournaments in Table Rock Lake. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is Justin Garner. How's it going, Justin?
It's going well.
So, coming to this, out here in Table Rock, when I first arrived here a couple of years ago, I was like, who is one of the best guys to beat out here on Table Rock Lake? And your name was one of them. So I was like, man, I really got to meet this guy because I got to know what he's throwing. So where did you grow up at, man?
Fordland, Missouri, right off the James River.
Who got you started?
My family, we'd go to the creek fishing, had ponds on the farm. As I got older, there was a guy down the road that his name was Greg Smith, and his son went to the lake a lot, and they took me few times. Well, me and his boy started taking a two-man Bantam boat down to Table Rock. I caught my first bass on a jig in Schooner Creek, right on the point, right across from the ramp. And I was hooked. I was about 17 when that happened.
Really?
Yeah, I've never looked back.
So let's just kick it off light. Have you ever just bombed a tournament and was like, you know what? I'm going to pack it up early and go get some ice cream?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said no. I've never left early, but I have bombed them before. Lake of the Ozarks is probably the lake that I've struggled with the most. I either catch them or don't catch them at all up there.
What out of all the lakes on Table Rock, what's your favorite so far?
My favorite lakes?
Yeah. Well, no, like your favorite trails, like the Ozark Team Trail.
Oh yeah, OMTT is great. Anglers in Action's great. Joe Bass is great. I mean, it's turned into an incentive game, right? So you want to chase the incentive tournaments.
Exactly. But you're known for the night tournaments, aren't you?
I like to be. It's my favorite.
Let's talk about those. Walk us through those. All
right. I started night fishing when I was about 18. Cape Fair had a tournament. I mean, back then it was, in the 90s, it had 100 boats would show up on this old wooden dock. And I remember they had like the old style deli weigh scale, and man, I'd be so nervous driving down there for that. I mean, it was unreal how excited I was, to go fish that night derby. I mean, that was before GPS and everything, and you leave Cape Fair and run to Kimberling City. It was a different lake then.
That's scary because I've been out there at night going, I just solely got to go off the GPS, not knowing, can't see nothing. Yeah. And my first night tournament was about a year ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? But anyways, I was going to see. You've been dominating deep water. What's your thought process when you're choosing a spot most anglers would pass over?
I mean, we're always looking for the deal. We call it the deal, and it's when you see it, hey, this is going to be the spot, or spots, when you find you're looking around, and you pull into the spot and you catch a couple small ones or maybe a big one, and then everything else goes, 2-pounders or less after that. And then when you see the deal, it's I know everybody that fishes, especially now with live scope, once you know what you're looking for once you find that, and it seems like it changes daily, like live scope taught me one thing. We didn't know anything about fishing.
That is true. I'm like, everything that they told me in the wintertime is a lie.
Yeah, you had to have 8-pound clearest line, the best of spinning jerk baits ever. Shoot, that just wasn't true.
Exactly. What's your favorite deep bait you like to use during those times, if you want to spit that knowledge out? A-rig?
A-rig, yeah.
A-rig's really good?
Yeah.
Have you ever just taken a spoon out there and just started flipping that deep timber?
Yes, I mean, that's years ago. We would go out and just in the guts of Cow Creek and right in the middle of the schooner, and we would jig and spoon, and with a flasher, and you could see the
You can see it go.
on a flasher.
Dad always told me about those flashers. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've never seen one that's ancient. But
Yeah.
then you ask kids these days, you know what a rotor telephone is? And they're like, no.
But yeah, we the spoon bite. That's that bite's probably one of the things that's held true to the time.
Really?
Yeah, it's a spoon. I mean, you can still smoke them on it. So
What part of the lake do you like to fish the most, if you don't mind me asking, from Long Creek to Kimberly to James to the White?
I fish the whole lake.
Really?
I mean, wherever the deal is, that's wherever we find it and think you can win off of it, that's where we're going to be.
Have you ever been on one point of the lake and you're like, nope, this is not working, and just automatically go to the other end?
Yes, I have. I can tell you, one night we were fishing a night derby, Jacob and I, and we were up by Buttermilk in the James, and it just wasn't happening. And I said, I think this is a dam kind of night. And we run to the dam and busted 18 pounds in about 30 minutes. He looked at me and he's like, I guess it was.
That's a good choice. I like that. So Table Rock can be humbling. How do you adapt when you go to spots basically the spots aren't just producing?
That's one of the things I've learned over the years. If it's not producing, move on, and once you figure out you get a bite, listen to all your bites. If you get a bite off something, go check something. I've been on that lake a lot, so I know if I catch it off of a rock pile, I'm going to go to the next rock pile.
Yeah.
And that's probably the best thing I've learned is keep an open mind. I mean, I've fished with a lot of people over the years, and that's probably the thing I've learned the most from even fishing with other people is keep an open mind.
Yeah, to learn to overcome and adapt really fast. I think that's part of the problem with a lot of anglers today, that they get stuck and keyed in on one thing. Yeah. And they're like, they know I'm going to bite this. They're going to bite this jig and I'm going to throw it all day. And they end up not doing that. And then they find out, well, I should have done that, what they did. That
was me a few years ago. I was stuck in my ways bad. And I had a few moments where I was like, all right, I got to figure this out,
So if you're listening, folks, here's the big key. If they're not catching them what do you say, about an hour or two or 2 hours?
If we go an hour without a bite, we're doing something different.
Doing something. You need to abandon what you're doing and go throw an eco rig. So you said I was talking to you earlier before we got started. You grew up on Bull Shoals? Yeah,
where I lived at Fordland, it was my Beaver Creek ramp was the closest ramp to me, so that's where I went. I mean, for day fishing, the first 10 years. Through my 20s and early 30s, I went to Bull Shoals. And then I decided there used to be a lot of tournaments on Bull, and they got where there just wasn't any, hardly at all. I think Joe Bass goes there now. And it's a shame. That's a great lake. I mean, it's a great lake.
Really?
Yeah, it's unreal there's, you can get the crankbait bite in March and April. It's 50 keeper bites a day. That lake's unbelievable.
Do you think it's due to not so much pressure?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is. In the high water every year on the lake now, it used to not be that way. It used to not get it's 4 foot from pool right now, or from high pool right now. So, yeah. And it does that about every year now, and I think that probably turns a lot of people off that lake.
The high water.
Yeah, the high water, and then the winter, it's unbelievable in the winter.
Why does it turn on? Why do you think it turns people off because of the high water? I don't know.
Well, just not as many people go.
Okay.
Their pressure is not there. Okay. And plus them fish, you'll go 3 months with it high like that, and it doesn't, and then when it comes back down, it's like a fresh lake.
Really?
Yeah. It took me a long time to realize that I'm spending all my time on a lake that really it wasn't, there was no reward there. There was not, I've learned on a lake that there's no big tournaments that comes there.
Yeah.
The Bassmaster's been there one time and they split it with Norfolk, or maybe twice. Yeah, I think it was twice, And that was pretty cool to see, but they haven't done that in a long time.
Do they not have Bassmaster tournaments on Table Rock anymore?
It's been a long time.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just not the boat ramps or the marinas, or just not enough places to put everyone?
Well, I think a lot of it is we need a bigger ramp, like a Wolf Creek or like a,
on Grand.
Yeah. Or like the Ozarks, PB2. We need something like that on Table Rock to get it here. I know the Chamber of Commerce, they have to do their part when a big tournament wants to come. And let's face it, Branson's mostly tourists, fishing's just secondary for them. So they gotta worry about number one, So I don't think they worry too much about bass tournaments coming to Table Rock.
Yeah. So I've had to learn to overcome and adapt on the minnow fishing. All right. So how did you get into the minnow fish? Do you juggle a minnow during certain times? Did you just say, hey, I'm going to full in learn how to do this and just set your mind to it that's what you're going to do to catch these big ones because that's how the younger generation is doing it today? Or did you just say, or did it just come easy to you and be like, nope, there's a fish, I'm just throw it over there?
I mean, we had some aha moments, going through this. It was definitely really hard to adapt to it. I mean, it was against everything I was taught.
Yeah.
I fished with a lot of good fishermen in my life. I mean, some big time shallow water fishermen. And it was hard for me to adapt to it. It took me, I was about a year late on it. I think we should have took off about a year sooner. I mean, I know we should have because that $1 million tournament was one doing it, the Johnny Morris tournament. And I was as stubborn as it gets on that deal. I was still wanting to throw a jerk bait up shallow and, and it just didn't work out, But
that Johnny Morris tournament is the one that opened my eyes too.
Yeah.
The $1 million.
Yeah. I thought, and we had done it, before that, but I just wasn't sold on it yet. I didn't think it was going to be as overpowerful as it is. I mean, it's unreal. It's turned fishing. There's bass being caught with live scope in a minute that was never fished for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's face it.
I will say this: when we were at the BFLs, did you fish the BFL?
The first one, this year.
I saw a lot of dead fish, and I was like, man, what a shame. I think that they need to have someone there that really knows what they're doing to fizz those fish, and I think they need to have some fizzing fish classes here because I don't think a lot of people are doing it right.
No, I watch YouTube videos. Is how I learned it years ago, and it's got pretty good at it, really. I mean, that's you got to keep them alive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that number one for our fishery. Number two, you can't weigh them in if they're dead.
Especially during the summer months, keeping these fish alive. I used to fill my live wells up before.
Yeah.
We fished and with ice,
Yes.
and then filled it up, and kind of kept that water cool, and then that's how I did it. But now they got all this technology stuff.
We still ice them. We'll carry a cooler into the day tournaments in July and August. We'll put 40 pounds of ice in it and ice them every 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it down below 65.
I've used a big, huge gallon jug and just froze it and just put it in there, and that seems to work a lot better.
Yeah, it does.
But I will say there's not a lot of room for the fish. Right. What's one technique amateurs overlook that could really step up their game?
Let's see, a technique that people overlook. I mean, it seems like anymore, I don't see hardly anybody throwing a jig.
Yeah.
That's a technique that I feel like kind of went away. Mm-hmm. I mean, you never hear nobody, hey, I smoked him on a jig today. You never.
Yeah, and you don't ever hear the buzzbait bite.
Right? Yeah, buzzbait bite's another one. I mean, I actually throw it a lot, so it's not one that come to my mind.
I still throw it a lot too.
Yeah, jig's one of my favorite techniques. It's been a little stingy lately, but I'm waiting for that moment where it's on.
Well, there's a certain time I think you could catch a bass yearly with a jig, and especially you'll get a Gina. I call those Ginas 6-pounders. How do you mentally reset when those early morning hopes fall flat?
Over the years I've learned. I mean, that's just normal. There's an early morning bite always that can be the deal, but it once the sun gets up high, it usually goes away. So I mean, that's pretty normal though. To adapt to already have a plan to move on to the next thing at say 9:00 when the sun gets up high. I'm ready to go do something else usually.
What's the biggest risk you've ever taken during a tournament and it actually paid off? I think you kind of already talked about that when you left one deal and went to the next.
Yeah, that's probably the one that comes to my mind. I'll never forget it. I mean, we could get a bite and then run down and just change 12 miles and run down and pulled up on a point and busted 2 4s back-to-back casts. That was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Walk us through one of your biggest wins when you did what? Sorry. Walk us through one of your biggest wins. When did you know I've got this? Basically, when you locked in.
Probably. I mean, obviously, you feel like you need one more always. The solo pro I won, and I think it was 19. I had almost 27 pounds, and I thought, man, if they beat that, they're gonna have them.
Yeah.
5 that weighs 27 on the rock's a pretty good bag.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it can be beat, but I felt like if they did that day, they had it to do.
What is the record here on Table Rock? for the biggest bag.
Marlar's caught the biggest one of the day that I can remember with 5. I mean, it used to be 6 fish, so it's hard to compare. 5 fish, that's the biggest one I've seen weighed in. I mean, I've heard of bigger and caught 30-pound bags, but not in a tournament. I've not weighed them in. But I mean, at night, I've seen lots of big, close to 30-pound bags at night over the years. So I don't know what the record would be. I mean, at 5 fish, the biggest one I think I know that's been weighed in a tournament is Marlar's 30-pound bag.
Yeah, that is a big bag.
Yeah, it was an impressive weekend for them guys.
I think the most I've ever caught is 21. That's it. I normally stay in the 17, 18, whatever.
Crazy.
Not like you, 22, 24.
Crazy thing about that Marlar weekend is he had 27 the day before.
I know.
27 and 30. Yeah. And then he said he could have had 30 both days if he really wanted to. That's nuts.
I know. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I was on the losing end of both of those, so I know them well.
You fished the solo series as well?
Yes.
How's that tournament trail? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I usually just fish the Table Rock. I jackpot the Table Rock tournaments when they come here. I do the Solo Pro and then the Baitworks tournament when they come. Randy's tournament, which by the way does a great job running a tournament. I'm very impressed with the way he runs a tournament. He's in my opinion the best tournament director around.
Really?
Yeah, he does a great job.
He makes you feel like you belong there.
He does.
He really does.
Yep. Yeah, he does a great job. I don't feel like sometimes he gets the credit I know he's not looking for the credit, but he does a great job.
Yeah. What separates the great anglers from the good ones in your eyes?
I think putting the time in, I mean, we'll practice daylight to dark every day we can. I mean, I work a full-time job also, but I mean, I'll drive. I moved to the lake, closer to the lake from Fordland a few years ago on purpose so I could go practice in the evenings, and it wasn't an hour and 20-minute drive home. I'm 30 minutes home now. Putting the time in is the deal. I mean, so many times we'll find one little something and then on game day it works and we're like, oh my God, I'm glad I went practice that night.
Yeah.
Or I'm glad I took the time to do it.
Do y'all find most of y'all's fish just during live scope, or do y'all just really look at your side scan? Or
we used to side scan, but now everything's pretty much live scope. I mean,
do you just put it down and y'all just start searching?
Yeah. Usually look. I mean, Table Rock, we're usually looking at spots over and over. I've got 2,000 waypoints. I mean, or 2,400, I think, on my graphs. I mean, I'm looking through, rotating through them. If you find find one that's loaded, something that's loaded, a piece of structure, and then I'll be like, oh, I know where there's 5 more of them exact spots.
So I know you've won a lot of tournaments on Table Rock. When did it all start clicking? Like when did the wins start coming in? Because you probably learned a lot from your failures, right?
Probably. I mean, night tournaments, I was probably 27 or 29 before I started winning, 2 or 3 or 4 of them a year, and then didn't feel like it was just an accident.
Yeah.
The first few, I remember one night out of Cape Fear, I caught 25 something on a spinnerbait in a night tournament. Yeah. I mean, it was great. Right. But then, I mean, at the end of the deal, looking back, I was like, man, I didn't learn anything. I just happened to get them bites.
Yeah.
But yeah, it takes time, experience on the water, and daytime. It was probably 6-7 years in. I started winning and started thinking like, okay, I need to change this was a great day, but I could have done a lot better if, learned from it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Memory, remembering every little thing, every little detail about your bite. Why'd I get that bite?
Yeah. I question myself all the time, especially on all my losses. What could have done different? What can I do different next time and stuff like that. I don't really think a lot of people understand that a lot of time on the water helps. I'm on the water every day, but I'm trying to find more fish because, and then when I mentally prepare myself to go out there and try to catch big fish, it's way different than what I normally do. So
yeah, guiding's different too. I got a trip tomorrow, and it's a totally different, mindset.
Oh, so you guide as well?
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's one thing I didn't know about you.
Part-time, yeah.
Part-time.
Yeah, I do weekends, I've often thought about doing it full-time, but I mean, I hate to give up my job and try it, really.
So is it are you pretty much booked up or?
No, not really. I haven't pushed it too hard. I get some repeat customers, take some overflow from other guys. I don't get too crazy with it. I got an 11-year-old son, and he's in every sport that there is. And I try to make sure the work-life balance is there.
Yeah. Wait till traveling ball hits.
Yeah. I think that's next. He's pretty wound up about baseball.
That's another beast, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, my son is in soccer deal, and I didn't even know they had like traveling soccer, but they do. I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? Yeah.
That's good for him.
Yeah.
I know another thing in fishing that I've learned over the years is surround yourself with good people. You know, there's a lot of good people in the fishing industry, and you surround yourself with somebody that's competitive and, you know, and wants to get after it and wants it as bad as you do, you know, you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I've learned.
That's why I like modern outdoor tackle. You know, I'm not supposed to talk about myself or anything like this, but I'm just going to talk about the tackle store. But these guys here, all the other guys, I'm missing a lot of names, but I'm not just going to say names. But I come in here and, you know, I was the out of town guy, just come in, you know, started doing all this stuff. And, you know, man, I was so grateful because I had no friends. Yeah. Now I got you guys where I can just kind of pull myself together and surround myself with you good men and good fishermen and to just make the best of it. Because if I was ever struggling, I know that I could talk to you and be like, hey, what am I doing wrong? Or call Eddie and be like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? And we just got such a good following. It's great. So
yeah, it is. It's a great bunch of guys. I've been blessed with it.
What's the biggest mistake you made early on, and what did you do to teach yourself?
Early on, it was, you know, and I've already talked about it. Keeping an open mind.
Oh,
you know, I was so bad about I'm gonna go to the lake and catch them on a jerk bait, or I'm gonna go to the lake and catch them, you know, on a spinner bait, and next thing you know, you're halfway through the day and you haven't got bit.
Yeah.
You know, that was probably the thing that got in my way the most.
Okay.
If I could have fished with an open mind, you know, and, you know, don't go to the lake with any pre-notions about how to catch them.
Yeah.
Fish the day.
Fish the moment.
Yeah. I mean, man, you know, you look over and you see water running in, go get in it, you know, don't let it's just that kind of thing. You know, you see, you know, I'd be going down the bank throwing a crankbait and hadn't had a bite in 3 hours. And, you know, the first laydown I come by, I pitch up jig into, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have been doing this all day. You know, I was like, man, I killed 3 hours for nothing on this. That's the biggest thing that I had to teach myself. And it's took a long time, to be honest with you, to get that out of my head. Just get it. You know, it can't fish yesterday. Yeah. Today, you got to fish today.
So to the people that are listening, they're coming in to fish this lake, you know, just to fish, what would you recommend them to throw right now? I don't want you to give your number one bait, because right. I know you got a tournament coming up and I don't want to do that to you, but basically your number two, just to go out there and catch spots, smallmouth. What would you say?
The lake's 12 foot high or whatever it is. It's tough right now. I mean, there is fish in the bushes, but you know, a drop shot, always a go-to on Table Rock. If you're new to the lake, swim bait, you know, gravel points, you know, you're going to catch some fish.
What about big baits? Do you think big baits are big into play right now?
Yeah. I mean, it's always big bait, big fish, right?
That's what I like. He's like, I like that. What's something about tournament life most people never see, but should?
Let's see. I think all the after hours, the countless hours sitting in your boat, reefs pulling, people don't see none of that.
No.
They see you pull up to the ramp, you know, and whether you do good or not, you know, they don't see the countless hours you set in your shop, you know, arranging your tackle. Nobody realizes how much time's actually put in this, you know.
All they see is the wrap boats, right?
Yeah.
And they don't understand the sacrifices you've had to make and your family sacrifices you've had to make and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to keep my family really involved with it. We got a little place at the lake they go to, you know, they come to the weigh-ins, my son fishes with me quite a bit. And you definitely got to keep the family involved with it to keep it going. Who
has been the biggest influence on your career?
You know, probably a guy I met when I was 18 years old. His name's Denny Malone. He's won bass events on Table Rock. He's taught me a lot. He can catch them. That's no kidding. He always has been able to. And he's so many things. He's just the little comments like, you know, did you lose any today? Did you learn from it? Did you, you know, it's just nonstop. His mind's always working about how to be better, techniques to catch them, to have the one up, you know? Yeah. He taught me a lot. And, man, I wish there was a way to figure out how many giant bags they'd caught at night on Table Rock, him and his partner. But I mean, 6 fish that weigh over 30 every time they went.
That's big.
I mean, it's unreal fish them two caught.
Do you think it's the pressure right now on Table Rock, like the 18 tournaments they have a week?
I don't know. Table Rock's still full of bass. It's not like it was in the early 2000s, late 90s and early 2000s, but we had a fish kill in 03, 05, something like that.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was a massive fish kill. I mean,
Was that blue-green algae?
I'm not sure what it was. I don't know. It killed everything from 3 to 5 pounds. I do know that.
Oh, gosh.
And it was bad. I mean, tournaments, it was 20, 25 or 28 pounds was now taking 12, and it was all Kentuckies.
Really?
Yeah.
Those Kentuckies are big.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. This lake, they used to be really big on this lake.
Have you ever fished Truman?
Not much.
Okay.
I have some, but not much.
What? I'm assuming Table Rock's your best lake you like.
Table Rock and Bull's my favorite.
What about Lake of the Ozarks? Have you any success on it?
I have had some. I mean, I've top fived it some. I did go up there and win a back-to-back night tournaments one time. That was pretty cool. I remember this old man asked me, I was tying on a spinnerbait, and he's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Spinnerbait? Don't you get?" Nah, we just throw a jig and a worm up here. I'm like, okay. Come to find out, they buy the spinnerbait up there.
They sure do. I remember.
Yeah, that lake, I like it. I do like it. I wish I lived closer to it where I could. I mean, man, there's a derby every day on it. I mean, pretty much every day.
You can win some money up there.
Yeah.
I know you can make a living here on Table Rock Lake just by winning derbies every week, but it's tough.
Yeah,
there's some hammers.
There's about a dozen that you beat them, you've done something.
Yeah. So, but you were talking about techniques and stuff like that. What is one of the hardest techniques that you've tried to overcome, like made you the best? Like, is minnow fishing the thing, or was jig? Back in the day, jig fishing was hard for me. I don't know why. My dad told me, he's like, "Hey, just pick up the jig, throw the jig. That's all you're going to throw." And that's what I did. Yeah. So now I finally figured out the bite.
That's a great tool to have. I mean, a jig's year round.
Yeah.
I mean, you fish it from 0 to whatever, Yeah. So I mean, the minnow fishing probably was the hardest for me to adapt to, just because it was, the live scope. It was out of my comfort zone. Right. Yeah. I mean, I was trolling motor hitting the bottom guy, and then I had the A-rig come out, and then it taught me to fish deep. Yeah. I can fish a lot deeper, but still the minnow game's totally different. I mean, how did you learn? How did you learn to teach yourself how to do that? Did you just go over follow the fish around? Yeah. We just started figuring it out over time, what to look for, which ones, and then you get where which ones, I can catch them, I can catch those. They probably won't bite. It took a while to figure that out. I think, there's a lot more to it than people realize. It ain't just tie one Damiki bait on and go after them. No. There's a lot more to it than people realize. Yeah, I tell people you got to have 3 or 4 baits tied on different heads, different body sizes. It's just all that. How do they overcome and adapt? How they want it that day and how they prefer it that day. You bet. It's a weird thing. I wish I could step inside of a fish's brain. I know. I thought the A-rig was the most overpowering bait I ever saw, but I'm pretty sure that the minnows, it's been above that. I mean, it turned, man, people coming right out of high school, smoke them, and now you experience plays its part still, but it turned it into, everybody's got a shot now. It really did. When is a good time to throw like a big, huge plug, like a 6XD? When do you still throw a 6XD, or do you still go out there and throw? We throw 8s and 10s a lot. Oh, really? Yeah. Dear Lord, what kind of a rod do you use on that? 711 heavy. That's a big boy. I got tired of throwing mine. Yeah, 8. I throw an 8 usually if I'm throwing a big plug. Okay. You gotta, it's got to deflect off something. Yeah. Do you throw it over timber and bring it down, or do you just mainly throw it over flats? Usually humps, try to get reel it into the side of it, something, make it deflect off of it. Okay. Rock piles, stuff like that. I gotcha. Yeah. It's kind of more for me, it's more of a river thing. Yeah. Current related stuff. Gotcha. All right. So we're kind of just wrapping up the show here. What's some advice you would give to a high school or a guy just following his dream? Yeah. The most advice that I can give somebody is, you got to believe in yourself, and learn. You just, man, you can learn so much from just watching YouTube. You can watch videos. I lay in bed at night watching videos still. I'm 48 years old. I learned from the next guy the same. Do you watch my YouTube videos? I'm sure I have. I've watched a lot of them on there. I'll just give you a hard time. Yeah. It's, that's somebody from high school, surround yourself by good people. Surround yourself, get your partner, pick somebody that loves it as much as you, wants to be competitive, that's now used to all you had to do is be able to catch a bass to make it all the way.
Yeah.
Now you got to be good at social media. It's never too soon if they want, get them started early in it and get their name out there. If they want to go all the way with it, that's what they have to do now.
So where can people meet you at, like Friday nighters?
Yeah, Mill Creek Friday night. I'm there most of them. All the tournaments on Table Rock Day tournaments, so fish them all. Rarely miss one.
Okay.
I think I missed the BFL this year, but it was work related.
Yeah.
I couldn't just could not get off work.
All
That's
right.
a long day at work.
Yeah.
You pass all your buddies going to work and they're all heading fishing.
Did I ask you this already? What's your number 2 go bait right now?
Right now, number 2 go bait. Man, it changes so much. It's just whatever the day is. If I had to pick a number 2 right now, man, I'll be honest with you. I've caught a lot on chatterbait lately.
Really?
Yeah.
When is the monster come in effect? Like the 12-inch monster worm.
Usually, I like it when it gets over 70, 75 Erie water.
Really?
Yeah, the hotter the better for me.
The hotter the water temperature, the better, the bigger worm.
Yeah, for on Table Rock.
Yeah, on Table Rock. What about Bull Shoals?
Same. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, man, even better on Bull Shoals. Man, they love the big worm on that.
Really?
Get on them timber banks, get it down there around the base of them, man.
What do you think the number 1 bait right now is for Bull Shoals?
And I haven't been down there in a long time. It's so high. I'm sure probably something in the top water, I would think, as high as it is. Maybe a swim jig or something. I don't know. I haven't been on it in a while.
Yeah, I didn't know if you had a tournament on that. I didn't know.
No.
I was going to ask that question.
Yeah, I have not been on it in a while. It, like I said, once I've realized all the tournaments are on Table Rock, I kind of quit going over there.
Yeah.
I could put in at K-Dock in about 25 minutes from my house, so I just don't. Because I want to spend every minute, somewhere where I know I'm going to be fishing.
Yeah. Well, Justin, it has been awesome to have you on the show. We appreciate all the advice you gave to us, man. We love you here at Modern Outdoor Tackle, and we thank you for what you're doing. So, guys, where can we follow Mr. Garner?
I post everything on Facebook.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
No.
No YouTube?
No, I don't.
I'm going to have to hit you up on Facebook.
Yep. Facebook.
I always swipe over and I was like, oh, there's Justin.
Yeah.
He probably won't add me.
Oh, what? Yeah. No, shoot, I will. I love seeing everybody's post.
Yeah.
Yeah. Facebook. That's where I usually post everything.
No TikTok?
I do have it, but I'm not good. I just don't do that thing.
Graham?
I'm just no hillbilly that likes to catch bass.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I think that's a lot of us out here. Well, guys, that is it for the MODCast. Like I said, go check out Eddie and Luke Roth this Friday at 6:00 on YouTube, or you can hit us up on Spotify. We're all on those shows. So, guys, we will see you next week on the MODCast.
7-pound smallmouth. No. And they made him fillet. Dollar smallmouth. Dollar smallmouth. Dollar smallmouth.